Welcome to Behind the Model, a show diving into the virtual world and exploring its stories with the VTubers who lead the way. Gaia Goddess is probably the only geologist VTuber you've heard of, and you probably didn't expect to learn about one of those today. However, her story outside of VTubing is more than just looking at rocks. With a background in drag and plenty of other life experiences, she brought all those stories into her virtual reality in a few different ways. Gaia, welcome to Behind the Model.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
No, it's very wonderful to have you on. I was very surprised by how well we kind of gelled the first time we spoke.
Yeah.
Which made looking forward to this recording all the more exciting.
Right, exactly.
And given that it's hot topic right now, the name is not related to Gaia Online, right? Like that's not where the basis of the name is, or
No, though I am a prior Gaia Online user. It was a funny haha to me.
It's funny how that's having like a resurgence among all of the Twitter downturn and threads starting up, and everyone's just like, we should just go back to MSN, we should go back to AOL, we should go back to Gaia Online.
Hey, you can look through my tweets. I literally suggested, guys, let's just go back to Gaia Online. We could recreate our avatars as our avatars there, and we can just respawn there.
Yeah.
So I have claimed to do that.
Well, it is in the name after all. On both sides, like it's a goddess as well. Like there you go. So you're kind of meant to be like, you know, the deity of it all.
Yeah, but I'm not the big lady in charge of Earth. I'm a minor Earth goddess. This iteration of my life, I chose the name Gaia.
Yeah, okay. Well, I guess there's still some power that comes with that, right?
Yeah, I'm still an almighty volcanic goddess, but yeah.
Yeah. That's enough of the in-character talk here. That's more in-character talk than I've had in an episode here in a while.
Oh.
Let's just go at the top. Geology.
Yes.
Usually when I start out these interviews, I ask people about like how they got into VTubing and how that ties into things. But really, I just want to dive into geology because geology is as much you as it is your VTuber model.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So how did you kind of get into that, and what kind of sparked that interest?
So growing up, I always knew that I was gonna probably do something in the sciences. You know, as most little kids, maybe one of their first inklings is, I want to be a marine biologist. And then I realized I'm fucking terrified of the ocean, like the depths. But with growing up, my father actually survived the Mount St. Helens eruption. So like growing up, I had vials of ash from like my grandma, like off of my grandma's car from the eruption. And I had newspaper clippings and all this kind of stuff. And so it's always interested me. I've always longed looking at the mountains and stuff. Yet like growing up, my parents never took me camping. So it was this weird dichotomy of loving the mountains, but not really experiencing them. And so then when I started thinking about going to college, because the one thing my parents instilled with me was make sure you can take care of yourself and live the lifestyle you want. So girl, get a good education in a good like subject area. And so that's when I started looking into geology, and I was looking at some of the top schools, and it just so happened my hometown school was one of the best at the time. So I was like, I guess I'll just go to my local college here. And then I ended up getting my bachelor's in science and my master's in science at that school. So yeah, I have a master's in science and geology, and it is, I do have a specialization in volcanology. So that is really true. My advisor is actually a top volcanologist from Ireland.
Of all places.
So, yeah, he was like, yeah, I got out of there and followed my passion. So yeah, I went from never camping in my life to having to spend almost every weekend of my graduate and undergraduate work camping out in the wilderness.
Well, that would have been a nice change considering you yearned for the mountains.
Yeah, and even because I know a lot of people know that I'm plus size. Your girl can still hike.
You just build on top of it, right? Like that's the whole point.
Yeah, exactly. So it was real fun. I like to say that I got a degree in camping.
Because that's all you did.
But
Yeah, that was the study. It was just like pitching up a tent.
you
doing the
really
study?
had to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to learn how to do it. But it wasn't every weekend, but it was
Mm.
like a lot. But yeah, and like I had to spend an entire summer in Utah to get my 3 months of living in Utah, which was probably one of the best experiences. That's why I talk about Utah a lot and I know a lot about it. Utah's just gorgeous.
Yeah.
So I go back like every summer just to hang around and climb rocks.
It's always so funny when you talk to a geologist. It's just like, it's so easy to make that. So you just look at rocks, huh? Joke.
Yeah, I like to look at some big boulders.
What, I guess, like, if that's like the crux of your passion, like, lies with like your parents and that kind of experience there, how did you kind of foster it for yourself? What kind of drew you further into the field and keeps you motivated in it?
I would really say like specializing in volcanology did help. Also, like, I won't lie, the money, because in the specialization that I do now, I do make good money. So I think I have set myself up to have a successful life. And also in the work I do now, I do work for, let's say, the man.
Yep.
And I do foster, environmentalist aspects and things like that. So really, like, my day-to-day is working to try and make the world a better place for us in the future. I am actively trying to help with climate change and things like that. So I would say that my day-to-day job isn't necessarily my greatest passion, but like things like taking off on a weekend with my friends and going camping, taking off on a long week and going with my friends, like that tickles my enjoyment of the subject more necessarily than the day-to-day drones of work. But yeah.
How did you manage to wield that passion to turn it into something that you could use in content creation?
So, obviously the lore. I have the background to back up the lore when people ask me stupid things or curious things. I love having like science streams. I love hosting streams, either talking about the subject, like when I so one stream I had, I made an entire PowerPoint to teach my friend Prism about volcanoes, because I wanted to go to Hawaii because Kilauea was erupting, and I was like, I'm gonna go, it's erupting now, I'm gonna go. So like I made a stream to like as like a subathon kind of thing, or a donathon, and I made an entire PowerPoint to teach her about different aspects about volcanoes
And why you were so excited.
yeah. So I just love hosting, like talking about science things or tying science things into like the games I play. I'll make like a lot of offhand comments. It's like, yeah, that's not physically possible. So yeah, I liked having a somewhat of an sometimes educational pool to things, but yeah, I just like entertaining and showing my passion, and I hope that comes through most of the time.
And I guess then what kind of drew you then to VTubing as a whole and content creation to start with? Less, because I don't think you can go from like being a geologist and being like, you know what, I'm going to go do content creation as well. There's quite a bit of a jump that has to happen there.
Yeah, so I think like a large majority of us, it happened during the pandemic. I had been introduced to VTubing, obviously from clips from the Japanese, like Korone and stuff like that. So I had known that they were happening, and I was like, oh man, to become real life anime waifu. But then the pandemic hit, and so my other passion, which is performing in drag, obviously dried up. So I had no artistic outlet, let's say. So I'm stuck at home and I have all this artistic empowerment in me, and I had no way to showcase it in the normal way that I would, which is performance art and things like that. So I was like, you know what? Screw it. I have I have a little bit of money that I can throw at this and see what happens. And so that's when I like commissioned my first, model and got all the things together. Tried to figure out the whole streaming thing, which I had never done before. I wasn't like a secret gaming streamer before. No, I went into this cold turkey. And so I just, just treated it kind of like I do with drag. It's an art form. I'm here to entertain. I'm here to give myself as much as I can, and I hope that people like it.
I feel like we're just like going backwards through the story now, because I now want to ask you about drag and kind of the overlaps that you see between there and VTubing that allowed you to express yourself in a creative way when you couldn't do it through, I guess, in a physical form.
Yeah, so I couldn't do drag during the pandemic because all of the venues were closed. There's no gathering, no nothing. And drag usually takes part in clubs, bars and things like that. So for me, even though I don't have as many outfits or wigs, I find it easier because I could just jump on the computer and I'm like ready. Whereas with drag, it takes a couple hours. But like seeing, like, I'll do a lot of karaoke streams, which gets my like musicality out. Whereas like I say I'm not an artist, but it's like, you know what I mean. I'm not a musical artist. I don't write. I don't make music. I'm a mimicker. I call it a mimicry. I like the mimicry. So like I'll do a lot of karaoke, which gives my musicality, like notes tickling. Or on stream, I will like bedazzle an outfit. Like I'll take one of my drag costumes and I'll start rhinestoning the hell out of it. And that kind of gets like it kind of introduces people like, hey, look, this is what I do. I just made this gigantic mermaid tail. We're now going to bedazzle the shit out of it. Come along with me. So, I can use one and the other. Like the other day I did a wig. I was freshening up a wig and adding colors to it. And so I did that on stream and I was showing people how I was brushing it out, and like I was using hot glue. I wasn't sewing it in. I normally would sew, but I was like, screw it, it's a cheap wig. So I'm like sitting there gluing, getting hot glue all over myself, but at least I had an audience to, sit with to do it.
Yeah, you had people to pass the time with.
Yeah, and burn myself ridiculously with.
Oh yes, the dangers of hot glue guns. I remember primary school. Can you tell me a little bit about the stigma that you faced in the drag community because of your gender?
Yeah, so what a lot of people won't necessarily get is, yes, I am cisgendered. I was born female and I identify as female, being cisgender. And I perform as a drag queen. So I do female impersonations, because sometimes if I would say, hey, I do drag, immediately people assume I'm a drag king, but I do not do male impersonations. Sometimes it's called a femme queen or a diva queen or a hyper queen. There's a lot of terms. Some are not used anymore because they disingenualize our trans sisters, but I just prefer to be called a drag queen. But yeah, so I am female bodied and I do female performance art is what I'd like to say. I get, sometimes people are like, oh, well, it's so much easier for you. You're halfway there. Just slap some makeup on and you're done, huh? And it's like, no. I'm taking just as long as you to put my face on. I'm wearing 7 layers of undergarments, just like you. Just because I'm not having to deal with certain body parts and you're not having to deal with my body parts doesn't necessarily change the depth of what we're doing. We're both here, corseted, in high heels, suffering to go out there and sing for 4 minutes. Like, girl, I'm doing the same as you. So, some people just kind of blow it off. And really, I try to help destigmatize that. But it's also hard because of where I am in the United States. there's not as many femme queens over here. Like back east, there's a lot more. It's more common. But out here, I'm like probably the only one in like a 500-mile radius. So, yeah. And there's not even any drag kings really around for like a good 200 miles.
Right.
So it's very strange. I live in a kind of a backwaters area, so I'm already fighting the good fight just to be female, let alone in the LGBTQIA plus sphere and doing drag. So I fight a lot of uphill battles, as well as being in a man-dominated career. So I chose a lot of fights to pick.
I was gonna say you chose the hard path, is what some would say.
Sometimes, yeah.
Despite all that talk about like the stigma and all that, how supportive was the drag community for you in finding a way to express yourself?
Well, it changes. It's more dependent on who it is. So like locally in my town specifically, it's like 50-50. Whether they get it or not, or they support me. Other towns that I am now frequently more often are very supportive. So, and then like when I go to national things back east, it's absolutely supported. Or if I go to places like Phoenix or Ohio, it's absolutely supported. So it's very strange. I think I just picked a weird bubble to live my life in. So it's hit or miss, but basically I've been doing this now. I think I counted it. It was like 12 years now I've been doing drag. And I'm still here kicking, so you're not getting rid of me. I haven't given up yet, so you might as well just deal with me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're just here forever now. You're ironed onto the walls, yeah.
I'm here to support drag because I love it.
I think, that encompasses the drag background. I want to focus a little bit on the content decisions that you made when you came into VTubing. One of them being you chose when you came into VTubing to look into the adult content space, and you've gone from one stigmatized area of content in drag to another stigmatized area. What prompted you to get into that as a VTuber?
So I think I always kind of planned to do adult content when I was picking this path. I mean, I had seen Melody, obviously, and I was like, damn, I've always been interested in doing like sex work and adult content and creation like that, but being who I work for and stuff like that, having my face connected to it, what could have been a problem. So I liked the anonymity of being able to be myself that way, because I'm a very sex positive person. And sex like forward, I would like to say. So I always intended that air of content creation to be a part of this. And I'd like to think that I've made the right choices for me, because I love doing it. But yeah.
I mean, it's all about what makes you comfortable, right? And I guess for you, it's like another. I mean, VTubing is always a form of expression. That term gets so overused, but like, you have all of these, what one might call very extravagant forms of expression, where you go to like drag, and you've now got your VTubing model and those kinds of things. That can play off different sides of your personality, right?
Exactly. I like to obviously use them to that extent. So like getting my sexual either frustration or sexual creativity out, I can, go on Blue Twitch and do it there. Or if I want to hold something artistry or cooking or singing, I can do VTubing. If I want to go out and, person to person, shake my tits in front of somebody, I can with drag. So
have you is there like a difference between the stigma that you faced in the drag space versus the stigma that adult content creators in VTubing face?
I don't see it. But I believe that I've been very lucky with my my support around around VTubing and around the adult content, I think I have a very respectful community. So I don't think I've necessarily, let's say, put myself in a situation to be either taken advantage of or hurt or anything like that. You know, with parasocial relationships and things like that, I try to keep that kind of at arm's length. I'm not here to be your virtual waifu. I'm here to entertain you.
Yeah.
We can be friends and things like that, but I'm not your girlfriend. And so I've always like presented that front, so I don't think people try to fuck with me.
Yeah.
I think usually it's all through my life, I think I've given off an air of don't fuck with me unintentionally, because I like in school I should have been bullied mercilessly for the things I was into and things like that. And I guess, I don't know, either I'm a little oblivious and just roll with things, or yeah, I give off an air of don't fuck with me.
It's just self-confidence, right?
You know, it really could be that. I have very high self-confidence, very high self-image, and I think I just exude that a lot.
You know, and then it just rubs off in, you know, anything that you do, whether it be, you know, your work or drag or VTubing or any activity you go forward with, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because in all of these instances, I'm still me. I'm still me under all of it. It's just different forms of how you're getting it.
Yeah. Do you think you've found a way to kind of express every side of you through the various avenues that you have taken, whether they be through your academics and your work or through your pastimes and your hobbies? Or are there other sides to Gaia that you are yet to explore?
I think there's always more to go into. I think there's more depth to do when I'm comfortable with it. Or, you know, there's always things in the background that you don't necessarily want to bring out. But I think there's always room for not necessarily improvement, but for exploration. I'd like to get into more deeper things into my geology stuff. It's just sometimes I feel like I could probably go into the weeds and a little too sciencey. But like, there's different forms that I would like to bring forth. Like, I would love to someday figure out an IRL rigging system that could function in the backwoods. See, that's the problem with me. I want to take, like, let's go hiking. Well, where I go hiking, there's like no fucking reception.
Yeah,
so like, how am I going to stream that?
Yeah.
So yeah, so you know, now we're talking about satellite interception and things like that. So like, I still have ambitions for my content that I would like to do going forward. There's just some technical things. So hey, if you're out there and know how to stream from back fucking woods anywhere in IRL, hit me up.
you got one happy customer right here.
Yeah, I will gladly figure out how to IRL stream middle of nowhere.
Yeah. I guess, hold on, let me get my train of thought back. VTubing for you is just a hobby, though, right? Like, it is not the end goal for you to become a full-time VTuber.
No, so what I explain with my community, and they're all very understanding about that, is my job absolutely has to come first. My end goal is not to make a living off content creation. Absolutely not. I cannot afford to do that. So yes, VTubing is definitely a hobby. It is a fun thing to do when I have the time. And unfortunately also, I will put myself and my mental well-being and my health above VTubing, which I know a lot of people necessarily won't and maybe should. So that's why you'll see that I stream so infrequently or so much less than a lot of my counterparts, which probably has hindered my growth, but I don't necessarily care. I don't look at the numbers. I look at what makes me happy. So, you know, I work a 7 to 5 every weekday. So how do I feel after that? What errands do I have to run? Now is their time to do VTubing. So that's basically how my life kind of revolves, is obviously I have to do my day-to-day. I have to, keep up my appearances in, my family, my friends, my household. I have to keep my house. I have to keep Kaya okay, my dog. And then
the most important of all.
Exactly, Kaya, most important of all. And then can I provide myself to entertainment? So yeah, it sucks. I wish I could provide more, but I feel like you'll have more Gaia in the end run because I'll be here longer than burning myself out.
That's still a lot of adulting. So that's a lot of adulting.
Being in your mid-30s, I will say, yes, I do have my priorities straight. And guess what? Your girl is ahead of a lot of other things. So I come first, unfortunately, or fortunately. Yeah. So yeah, I've definitely made some life choices, and I'm going to make sure I am taken care of first.
Is there a lack of maturity that you see sometimes in VTubing with people burning themselves to oblivion, even if it's not their full-time career?
I do think I do see it a slight bit more in people who I know are younger. But I really hang out with more people my age. I feel like there's a lot of us in that older tier that you wouldn't expect. But I think, I don't know, I associate with more people like me, let's say, so I don't necessarily see maybe the people that are really running themselves down, but I'm sure it's out there.
Yeah. I guess, like, what is it like having that like-minded group of individuals in a online virtual space, which so many people claim to lean young and have a younger audience or a younger creator base, which I don't wholeheartedly agree with because of how much money it involves to get into VTubing at this level.
Yeah.
But what's it like to have that like-minded community of VTubers to interact with that, have the same kind of backgrounds as you, or the same kind of, life experiences as you?
I think it's great because I think we bring a lot different. Living, even 10 more years on this planet is a big difference. There's a big difference between 2023 and 2013. There's a big difference between 2013 and 2003. So, like, let's just say the millennials have suffered. We have suffered for all of your benefit. And so we will use that self-deprecating humor to our advantage. No.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
As a
we
Zoomer,
paved the way for your TikToks and your... You're using our shit to make good TikToks. Let's just put it that way.
No. MySpace could walk so TikTok could run.
No, MySpace walked so Facebook could jog a little to TikTok to take off for the moon.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but like I think that it's also weird how entertainment and the same things are now popping back up. Clips, like audio clips from things from the 90s and the early aughts are now the popular thing on the TikToks, and it's like, do you know where that came from? Like, girl, you don't even know what you're referencing. So I think it's real funny because we bring a different aspect, but it's great to have let's say it's a support network of us older VTubers, because we kind of get it. Our knees hurt, our hips hurt, and we still out here trying to kill it every day.
Yeah.
But
some have families, marriages, all that kind of stuff. Like, it's
yeah. So I think we understand that, there's times, there's places, there's commitments that we all have to like, oh god, what am I thinking? Well, we all have to respect.
Yep. So with all that being said and all that we've talked about, how long is left in the creative tank for Gaia?
Oh, I can keep going. Like, don't worry. Like, I don't see an end point. And I don't think VTubing is ever gonna implode on itself. I think this will continue being an outlet. I mean, for nothing else, for like people in say like Iron Mouse's position, like this has probably been a godsend to a heavy handful of people like that. So I never see this going away. Like this is kind of like, you know, MSN Yahoo chat rooms turned into like, you know, VR chat hangouts, which is now kind of turned into like VTubing. Like this is a way for people to manifest themselves, and interact with people. So I don't necessarily see an endpoint for me. You know, it's a slow trickle, but the trickle keeps going.
And the medium might change because, as you mentioned, like, you know, we have, you know, we can go all the way back to things like Second Life, right? We can go all the way back there. And the medium has changed across 20 years, but the whole kind of premise of it has stayed the same.
Exactly. Like, there are still people on Gaia Online.
That is true. And to come full circle, there are still people on Gaia Online. Well, Gaia Goddess, I really appreciate you coming on to Behind the Model and sharing all the different fun little life stories that you've had. It's been a pleasure to tell your story, and best of luck with everything else that happens in VTubing for you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me on and talking with me. Just behind the scenes, like, we are very similar people. It turns out it's very funny. And being so like weirdly extroverted in an introverted kind of world. It's very strange. We have a lot of similarities, even though we're vastly different ages. So I'm just so happy to have like gotten the opportunity. So thank you for that. And
likewise. Thank you.
Yeah, I would love to hang out with you more and see like what could happen. I know we're in different areas, but yeah, time zone's a thing.
Well, as with, you know, VTubing is a wonderful way to do that. So I'm sure we'll figure it out.
Yeah. So thank you so much, everyone.
Gaia Goddess is the latest guest on my series Behind the Model, diving into the stars who make VTubing the creative medium we love. If you're interested in more of Gaia's story, you can read the accompanying article linked in the description. You can also find all of Gaia's social media channels below. It's been a joy telling her story and all of the stories that I've told along the way, so I'd really appreciate it if you could go down to the description, give me a like and subscribe if you're not already, and look, I'll be back again next week for another episode Behind the Model, so I hope to catch you then. Thank you so much for watching.